Hey guys, it's Brianna Trusty, your very trusty source, and I know I have a little bit of explaining to do. Like Taylor Swift, I went on a little bit of a hiatus, a year and a half, 2 years, kind of pushing it, but also like T Swift, I am back and better than ever, so stay tuned for a very trusty source, Reputation Edition. Alright, so to kick off the album, we have Ready For It. And I think it's a really cool way to start this album because if you think about it, fans who have not heard from Taylor in about a year or so, the first thing that they hear if they listen to the album from start to finish is her clearing her throat, announcing her presence, announcing the new Taylor, and announcing the start of the Reputation era, which is pretty interesting. And as you can see so far, Taylor has had so many different things come out of the Reputation era, and the album just came out. I mean, one of the things, let's talk about Rapping Taylor. Rapping Taylor is one of the things that we've seen from Reputation thus far. And if we go back to 2006 self-titled album, Taylor crying, teardrops on her guitar, Sweet Country Girl. Fast forward about 10 years and we see Taylor rapping. That is something that no one, I mean maybe you guys did, I did not see that coming. But I can appreciate it. I am here for Rapping Taylor. So, Endgame. From the very beginning of the song, Taylor is very clear about what she wants, very clear about her intentions, not playing around. I want to be your endgame, point blank, period. So it's pretty safe to say that this song is about Joe. It's one of the many songs on the album about Joe. So we're going to keep a running tally going. So whether it's about Joe, her exes, or her enemies, hint, hint, wink, wink. Here's looking at you, Kanye, Kim, and Katie. We'll get to that a little bit later. But this is the first song on the album where she directly references her reputation. She's saying she has a big reputation. She knows her reputation precedes her. She has a lot of enemies. And so she knows going in what this song is going to be about. You know that she's here to clear the record. She's here to set the record straight and let you know that new Taylor is not playing around. And new Taylor is very honest, very open, very honest. And I think it's refreshing almost to see Taylor being so candid. And so it's interesting because kind of before she was hiding behind, at first she was just sweet, innocent Taylor, whatever, country, ringlets, whatever. And so moving on, as she's gotten older, she kind of started saying, like in her 1989 era, hey, sure, if you want to call me a man-eater, whatever, I'm going to accept it. And then Reputation has kind of seen Taylor saying, no, I'm not just going to say whatever the media thinks of me, whatever the media wants to say about me, I'll just take it and kind of like let that be my persona. With Reputation, she's really breaking out and saying, no, this is how I'm going to define myself. I know my reputation precedes me, but I'm setting the rules now. I'm calling the shots. If I had to describe I Did Something Bad in 2 words, there would be no regrets. Taylor does not care anymore. And you can see that this is the first song that we've ever heard Taylor curse in. Ever. Like, I feel like there were some people out there who thought Taylor Swift had never said a curse word in her entire life, and here she is, thrown out the wazoo. She is angry. She is unapologetic. And I mean, that's amazing, because she usually is kind of low-key shady, but with Reputation, I mean, just even the start of the album, she's very like, I do not care, I will call you out, maybe not by name yet. Maybe we'll get there like album 7 or 8, she'll start actually putting some names in songs. But right now, we are seeing such an unapologetic Taylor. She is going for it. She's like, I don't care if you mess with me, I'll mess with you. I did something bad, but hey, like, sorry, not sorry. So we go from I Did Something Bad to Don't Blame Me. And I don't know if anyone else thought this. When I first heard this song, I'm like, I've heard this song before, I think. I mean, not from Taylor, definitely. Because, like, it's a very heavy beat, and we're not used to heavy beats with Taylor. But I sat there, and I thought, and I was like, what is this song? I've heard it. And then I sat, and thought, and it clicked. Yes, I have heard this song before. It's very, very similar to Take Me to Church by Hozier. It's totally giving me Take Me to Church vibes. I mean, she's talking about the Lord, and she has kind of like gospel music field in the background, and Taylor is having a come to Jesus moment. Her relationship with Joe seems very intense. Again, I think this is another tally in Joe Alwyn's column. She's comparing him to a drug, and that's something, again, we've never seen that before from Taylor. It's been like very sweet and romantic love affairs, Romeo and Juliet, but we're seeing Joe being compared to her drugs. So this is obviously a very intense relationship. Reputation Taylor is not playing by the rules, and we haven't seen anything like it. But what is kind of reminiscent of old Taylor is when she talks about being with older guys and toying with their hearts and breaking their hearts. And that might be kind of a subtle nod to Calvin Harris and Tom Hiddleston, and they have a couple songs between the two of them later down the album, but it's kind of the first diverging from talking about just Joe and her reputation to going into a little bit of the relationships that we missed while she was on her hiatus. My reputation's never been worse, so you must like me for me. Wow. That is definitely not beating around the bush and definitely not a delicate way to open a song. But Taylor is definitely giving kudos to Joe for being there for her when no one else was, when everything hit the fan with Kim Ye, when everyone was calling her a snake, leaving the snakes in her DMs, leaving it in her Instagram comments. Joe was there, and I mean, even though her reputation preceded her and he knew everything, he was there for her, and so that's probably why he has an entire album dedicated to him. So another tally in the Joe column. Oh, Kim Ye, look what you made her do. With the very first song that we heard off Reputation, Taylor is once again extremely unapologetic. She's like, hey, I didn't want to be a snake, I didn't want to do this to you, but I'm gonna do it. Again, I do not care. You called me out, I'm calling you out, I'm holding you accountable, and that's what we see with Look What You Made Me Do. It was definitely a shock to the system. For me, I was anticipating the music. As soon as they said that she was having a new album, I was so excited, I was pumped, and then I heard Look What You Made Me Do, and I was a little like, okay, yeah, we went from very sweet pop 1989 Taylor to, alright, look what you made me do. Very intense. So it was interesting to hear right off the bat, but it definitely has grown on me. I think it's a great song. I loved all of the references in the music video. She was calling everyone out. She was coming for everyone. And it definitely gave us a lot of tea to sit and sip to kick off the start of the Reputation era. We had a lot to shift through, and I was here for it. I was excited. I think it was a great first single to really get people talking, really start generating some buzz. And she has some really good lines in there. She's definitely not being subtle at all. She talks about, I don't like your tilted stage. Who had a tilted stage? I don't know. Maybe certain Kanye West? Yeah. But perhaps the most iconic, memorable part of this entire song is, I'm sorry, the old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh, because she's dead. I mean, what? I mean, that is probably the most iconic line to come from Taylor since her "This is a narrative that I'd very much like to be excluded from." So that replaced the Instagram captions. That was all I was seeing on my feed, at least, for the next week or so. I mean, how can you combat that? Like, I was not expecting that. I was listening to the song, I was like, yes, this is the bop, this is great, and all of a sudden, the phone call part comes in, and I mean, slay. So, I mean, this song, it's interesting, because it's kind of the middle ground of the album, I would think. It's track number 7, and so, it's not quite angry and battling her enemies and feuding, but it's also not quite sweet love song. It's kind of in the middle. It's kind of a middle ground. And I think it's kind of a trademark of Taylor, this album, I think. It's kind of like Call It What You Want to me. Earlier in her career, she kind of tried to label things. She had Love Story in the Fearless era, and everything was very black and white. It was like, we're either in love or I hate you and I'm going to write a song about you. But this album has really seen songs that aren't so black and white. There's very much a gray area in this album. And she's learning that it's okay to not be able to define things. You can call it what you want. It's not love. It's not hate. It's not anything. It's so it goes. It's whatever. I mean, it's c'est la vie. I'm not going to try to put a label on things, and that's something we haven't really seen from Taylor thus far. Everything's kind of been like trying to define things, trying to explain things, and along with unapologetic Reputation Taylor, she's not trying to explain anything anymore. Talking about You're So Gorgeous, okay? So obviously when we first heard the song, we're like, oh, she's in love with Joe. her new boyfriend. She's head over heels. We're talking about him. But she's talking about ocean blue eyes, and that kind of threw people off at first because obviously Tom Hiddleston has blue eyes and Joe Owen has blue eyes. So it's like, who are you talking about, Taylor? And then to muddy the waters even more, I remember I got so excited when I looked at my Instagram story after Gorgeous and all that, like after it dropped, and I saw that she had some little behind the scenes about what the song, how she made the song. And so it was interesting to see though, because in the song, the one we heard, it has a line, and it's like, I like my boyfriend's in the club doing I don't know what. But then in the song that she originally wrote, it said, like, I have a boyfriend, I haven't seen him in a couple of months. And so when the song first came out, it was like, oh, I have a boyfriend, he's in the club doing I don't know what. Obviously Calvin Harris. He's a DJ, he's in the club, point blank period, that's who we're talking about. But then when she released the making of the song, it was kind of like, I haven't seen him in a couple of months. And like that was very confusing because her and Tom Hiddleston were only together for a couple months. But then with Calvin, it didn't really make sense. And so it kind of like threw everything up in the air. I still am very much convinced that this song is about Joe, but having that lyric swap in there, that definitely threw me off a little bit. But I have to say, I liked the flow of I haven't seen him in a couple of months a little bit better than the line that actually ended up being on the album. I mean, I love the song again. Like I said, it's one of my favorite songs on the album by far. But that little line in there. I want to know what other songs Taylor has that she swapped lines out on us that we have no idea about. That the original line might have been a little bit better than what ended up on the album. And speaking of songs that didn't end up on albums, where is our longer version of All Too Well? I was really disappointed that we didn't get that. So maybe we could just kind of like dig through the Taylor writing song archives and find all the other lyrics that we missed out on, including that longer version of All Too Well. Swifties, that is your new task. Please get this done for us. Taylor has a way with words, and that is why this song, Getaway Car, is definitely, I think, my favorite on the album. Maybe I have a couple of favorites that I can't choose between, but Getaway Car is definitely in the top 3. I think it's one of the most lyrically loaded songs on the album. It touches on a lot of things. At first, I didn't know how I felt about this song. I played through the album at first. I listened to all the songs that I heard, and I wasn't super impressed by it. But as I started listening to the lyrics, I was like, wow, like this is a very telling song. And I think it's intriguing, like the way she kind of crafts the words. She talks about the ties are black, the lies were white, and in the song, it's very much a song about a relationship that is obviously doomed, but Taylor talks about being in another relationship that she wants to get out of no matter what. Like, she's done with it, and she's looking for a way to get out. And this other person is her getaway car. It's her way out. It's her way to get out of the relationship. And I think one of the most interesting lines in the song is think about where we met. And so I think that line is definitely referring to Tom Hiddleston, and I think he was T Swift's getaway car from Calvin Harris because they met at the Met Ball. I don't know if you guys saw the now infamous video of Taylor and Tom dancing at the Met Gala, but at the time she was still kind of with Calvin. It was like towards the very end of their relationship, but I think he was her getaway car. And that is why that is probably one of the quickest relationships that Taylor Swift has ever been in with Tom Hiddleston, because he wasn't endgame like Joe. He was simply a means to an end with the relationship with Calvin Harris. And she even talks about in the song there being the 3 of them. It's kind of like a circus. It's not a love story. And that's kind of the love triangle it almost seems that they were in. And it just seems like a kind of doomed relationship. And it was very interesting that she would kind of open up about that, because there have been rumors swirling that the end of her relationship with Calvin Harris had to do with cheating. And I think that Taylor is kind of admitting to that almost in this song and saying like, hey, yeah, I wasn't here for it. I wasn't really committed to a relationship anymore, and I was looking for a way out. and Tom was that way out. As we head into King of My Heart, this is obviously another song for Joe. She calls herself his American Queen. It's very sweet. She's very open in this song. She clearly is head over heels for Joe. And she talks about how she wants him to be the one. She wants him to be the end to all the endings, which probably means that he's done being declared as a serial dater by the media and is ready to settle down with Joe. And it just seems like she really likes him, and it's very telling. And you can see that through the lyrics that she's very happy with him. And she even throws a little bit of shade towards her exes, talking about guys in Range Rovers and Jaguars. And the Range Rovers, I believe, is supposed to be Calvin Harris, a diss towards him, so it's the car that they were seen driving in at some point in their relationship. And then the Jaguar is a little nod to Calvin Harris. Sorry, to Tom Hiddleston, who had a Jaguar ad campaign. And so she's over the fancy cars and the older guys, and she's ready to settle down with Joe. But Dancing with Our Hands side, I think we have to go back to the getaway car and get back to the Met Gala, because I'm pretty sure the song is about Tom Hiddleston. The night of the Met Gala, both Taylor and Tom were in a relationship. She was with Calvin Harris, and he was with Elizabeth Olsen. And so, again, they had the infamous little dance video together. That's when they sparked a relationship. And, I mean, if they were both in a relationship at the time, they would have been dancing with, quote, their hands tied, because they were both in a relationship and couldn't really do anything about it. So I think that's kind of what this song is about. I think it's kind of saying, hey, like, I'm into you, you're into me, but our hands are tied right now in a relationship. We can't really do anything about it. And so, I don't know, Met Gala seems like a pretty important night in the 1989 Reputation transition period. And while the media was like, oh my goodness, Taylor was dating Calvin, they broke up after like forever together, like a little over a year, which is forever for Taylor at this point. And seeing her immediately move on to Tom, these songs kind of seem like the explanation for what she was thinking during those times, and just like the media thought she was just hopping from ship to ship, but these were her feelings, this was her thoughts on it. Like, hey, yeah, I wasn't completely ready to date Tom when I was at the Met Gala, but he was my getaway car, and it just seems kind of like a mess of emotions, but they're Taylor's emotions, and she's being open about them, and I think these are really getaway car and so dressed. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think this is definitely one of the most, if not the most, intimate song that Taylor Swift has ever written. I mean, come on. Talking about buying a dress just so that someone, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Joe Allen, can take it off. I mean, we've never seen lyrics like that from Taylor ever, and so it's just another example of how Reputation-era Taylor holds nothing back, so unapologetic, so unfiltered, so candid, and just playing by some new rules that we have never seen before, guys. And, I mean, even though the lyrics are a little more Reputation-leaning than 1989, I think the sound, the overall beat, and the sultriness of it is almost kind of reminiscent of 1989. So it's kind of a good merge between the two eras, and I think Taylor's finding her new tone, new way of expressing herself, but I think she's also still trying to incorporate some of 1989, even Red Taylor, into her songs. And so even though she told us that the old Taylor was dead, I think she peeps her head up a little bit throughout the song. And one of the most telling lines of the song is that something about buzzed cut hair and bleached blonde hair. And that is referring to, once again, the Night of Nights, the Met Gala, where Taylor sported her goth Taylor. And Joe was also in attendance that night, even though she was still with Calvin, apparently dancing with Tom and planning her getaway with Tom. Joe was still there somewhere. And so it seems like that was kind of a big night for Taylor. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we might have to keep our eyes trained a little bit more on the Met Gala, because even though Rihanna stole the show on the red carpet, hands down, there was something going on in that building that made it a night to remember for Taylor Swift, definitely. So, hopping in another getaway car and taking a detour from the lovey-dovey lights with Joe Alwyn, we are going into a song called This Is Why I Can't Have Nice Things, directed at Kim Ye. So this song, it's kind of very, I don't know, kind of reminded me a little bit of How You Get the Girl from 1989. It was very playful, but still very telling and very like shady. So it's like, all right, we're gonna have fun and I'm joking around with you, but if you listen to the words, I am definitely not thrilled. And so in the song, she kind of talks about how this is why you can't have nice things. This is why you can't be friends. She really kind of harps on the whole idea, like, we were friends, and, like, I thought we were cool, and then phone problems, and then now we're not friends anymore. So I think that's really going back to, once again, Night of All Nights, the biggest night in Taylor's life, now second to, apparently, the Met Gala, talking about when Kanye called out Taylor at the Video Music Awards. And so everyone thought everything was fine, water under the bridge, when Taylor presented Kanye with the Vanguard Award at the 2015 VMAs, but apparently that was not the case because of the now infamous Kanye phone call that destroyed Taylor's relationship with Kim Ye, probably forever, and cue the snake emojis. And so it's kind of a little taunt, like, hey, like, I know we had some rough waters in the past, like, you can get past it, we're fine now, it's good, and then just proof that this is why we can't have nice things, this is why we can't be friends, even though I thought there was water under the bridge. It was a narrative she wanted to be excluded from, but I mean, it's kind of weird, though, she said that, but then by writing this song, she's kind of re-including herself in that narrative, because it's once again tying her to Kanye, so this song's a little bit confusing in that aspect, that throughout Reputation, it really seems like she's trying to have a new slate, a new clean slate, and show everyone who the real Taylor is, but this song it's kind of petty a little bit, it's kind of going back to old Taylor, showing that, like, yeah, this bothers me, and this is why I can't have nice things, and, like, I don't know. I feel like it's interesting. It's kind of a fun song. It pokes fun at Kanye, maybe even Katy Perry, but I don't think it really goes with the Reputation vibe as much as the other ones, because the other ones are they're either about Joe or they're being more open and honest and not hiding behind things, and this is why you can't have nice things. It's hiding behind the Kanye ongoing feud thing, and I don't know, I think we're been there, done that. I mean, that was how many years ago, and so if you're gonna exclude yourself from the narrative, Taylor, just exclude yourself. Let's be done with it. Let this song be the end-all, be-all, and you and Kanye never need to hop on the phone or the stage ever again. Call it what you want, man. Call it what you want. I call it my favorite song on the album. It's such a good bridge between 1989 and Reputation. I think it encapsulates everything that is Taylor Swift right now. It's open, it's honest, it's still the older Taylor Swift vibe, and the song, it's a great song. It's a penultimate song on Reputation, and I think it's a good way to start wrapping up the album. It's a love song for Joe, but at the same time, it's hinting back at what she started talking about at the very beginning of the album. As I've said numerous times now, the beginning of the album seems so much angrier, so much more rage, more so than we get when we get to the end of the album. It's a lot lighter, and it's kind of like Clean, the song from 1989, where it's like everything's kind of like rolling off, and it's like, okay, like everything's happened, it happened for a reason, and it's kind of letting us know, like, hey, all this happened, they tried to destroy my reputation, they didn't, and I found love. And it's a nice song, because it shows her growth, because it's not, obviously, This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things was not a good indication of her growth, but this song, I think, really shows how much she's matured, because it's not, again, it's not a black and white song, it's a very gray mixture, and that's why I think I love it so much. It calls back on older Taylor and shows what she's learned, because there's one of my favorite parts of this entire album. It's kind of a call and response from her song Love Story to this song, because she talks about, in Love Story, it's like, Romeo saved me, somewhere we can be alone, we'll run away, it's a love story, will you just say yes, will you marry me? And in this song, it's, will you, like, you don't have to save me, but will you run away with me? And there's still the little yes in there. And when I first heard it, I was kind of confused, but once I saw the parallels between the two, it kind of seemed like a love story kind of sequel, because in love stories, it's very like, yep, or I'm a princess, I'm in a castle, and Romeo and Juliet and whatever, and I need someone to save me. But she's obviously evolved past that, and at this point, it's like, I don't need to call it a love story. I'm going to call it what I want. It's not this, it's not that, but it's my relationship, and I'm happy with it. Alright, guys, I know we've been through a marathon here, but we are finally at the last song, New Year's Day. And, okay, so there's some out there who want to tie this song to Harry Styles. I get it. We saw them together in Times Square, full PDA. Alright, fine, good, great. But people, can we please move on? I mean, Taylor and Harry have not been together in so long, and to think that she's still writing songs about him, I mean, no, we're so far past that. This is not about Harry. This is 100% about Joe. Why would you close your album talking about your ex? That's like the pettiest of all petty things to do. Like, okay, yeah, like we've had this whole album about growth, and here I am now, but I'm gonna go back and talk about a relationship that I was in like 3-4 years ago. No, that is not what's happening here. This is a great way to end Reputation, because I know I've said it a billion times in this video, but old Taylor is alive and well, guys. She is not dead, as Taylor would have had us believe with Look What You Made Me Do. And this song 100% proves that. From the acoustics to the tone of it, it's so old Taylor. I'd even say it's almost Red Taylor to a certain extent. Obviously, the vocals have progressed and the lyrics are stronger, but it's Taylor. It's the Taylor we know. It's the Taylor we love. And I think this song is as simple as, I'll be there for you through the good times and the bad. I'll be there on midnight when everything's fun and great, but I'll also be there in the morning, New Year's Day, when there's all this crap here and we have to clean all our things up, but as long as I'm with you, I'm good. And I think that's a really beautiful way to end the album. So that's all I have for you guys. I mean, I don't think we could have asked for a better way for Taylor to make her comeback. Reputation is everything and more that I hope for, and I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And like Taylor, I'm going to be sticking around for a little bit. I know that we saw that she just released her 2018 tour dates, which is super exciting, and Taylor's going to be around, and I'm going to be around, so definitely stay tuned for more Very Trusty Source. And if you want to check out any other work that I'm doing, please check out my website, BriannaTrusty.com, and I will catch up with you guys later. Thanks so much for tuning in, and as always, I'm Brianna Trusty, your very trusty source.